I learned something a few years ago, and that is how much we actually contribute in Alberta to environmental innovation and technology. And for me, when I learned that we contribute more than the rest of North America combined, it kind of made me think about how if we're going to shut down our industry in our province and shut down our resources from getting to market, and like Travis pointed out, other countries don't, then we contribute more to carbon emissions globally. We need to continue to have the investment capabilities to help other countries improve their technology by us selling ours to them.
I can hear the passion in your voice when you ask that question. And you asked it about a moral and ethical perspective. And I really struggle with morals and ethics when it comes to those types of things, because we have a moral and ethical responsibility to take care of our children, to take care of our seniors, to provide education, to provide health care, to provide a job for our citizens. And those things all rely on the energy industry at this point. And that's the only possible way that I can justify those pipelines. They are necessary to keep people alive, to keep people healthy, to keep people educated.
Thank you. Yep. The mic, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking my question. I am going to ask a question around food. The Alberta NDP government over the last 4 years established an Alberta Food Policy Council, which was set up to encourage local food being bought within the province of Alberta, and also to look at how our food is produced, whether it's ecologically sound and environmentally safe. So I'd like to know, to all the members, are you planning on keeping that Alberta Food Policy Council and all the mandate that the Alberta Local Food Policy Council has right now?
Thank you for the question. I'll go first. Christy.
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. And one of the things that the Food Council actually, I believe, did was made me more aware of what grocery stores were offering locally grown product, which is something that I really appreciate in Edson, is that I have an opportunity to look for food that is locally grown.
Thank you.
It's kind of funny because a lot of people have said that we're going to repeal every single law and every single thing that the NDP have ever done since the day they got into office. And I say, no, but there's some good things that the NDP have done. That is one of the good things. My stepson runs a urban urban garden, and we have a plan on our policy that talks about enhancing urban gardens and shared gardens, and I absolutely and completely support that. Thank you for asking that question.
I just want to quickly brag about my wife one more time. She teaches gardening in her high school as well, so food is obviously very important to us and how it's produced. As far as are we committed to keeping it, I have not heard contrary to that. So, yeah, thank you.
During the reworking of all the government agencies and the new independent Alberta, as a small farmer, I grow Saskatoon berries with my family, and I sure hope we keep that platform. That would be amazing, yes. Well, I will personally advocate for keeping grown local produce.
Thank you for that question. I'm very proud that the NDP put that forward, and we will continue to support it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have more questions from the mic? I do have some. I'm just going to ask that the preambles stay short, 30, go ahead. Two more? We're going to take a break here right away.
In 2010, an application was put forth for Northern Gateway, and in 2014 it was approved. In 2016, it was denied by the federal government. Trans Mountain pipeline application was made in 2013, and the only thing that stopped it at the moment is the court. Neither the Alberta government nor the federal government. Heading east was stopped by Trans Mountain pipelines because they didn't get their way. I would like to know, having seen what the NDP government has done so far, what Mr. Long would have his part to do any different than the NDP has already done.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Do you want to use this one?
We have a number of things that we've obviously brought up regarding pipelines over the last few years. One thing is that we have been vocal about our need for pipelines. We haven't been silent as the pipelines have been canceled or scrutinized. One major thing that we are undertaking is actually Indigenous partnerships. There are a lot of Aboriginal groups across the span of these pipelines that their communities will benefit economically through the partnerships, and we want to engage them with us to help us make sure that we can continue to further our province and obviously further our country and help them create a better life for themselves.
Thank you. One more for the floor and then a break.
Hello.
That's not working. Yeah, we can hear you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for stepping up. It's a lot of courage. My question's about fluoride, and I don't want to put any of you in the hot seat if you don't know about it, because I know when I was over there, I didn't really know about it, but perhaps it's done research. Before it was put into our public waters in some places, it was the cause of the many lawsuits, because it's a neurotoxin, it's poison. Now, what are your party's positions on fluoridation? I know some communities in Try and fluoridate. I hope Johnson doesn't, but anyway, what are your positions on fluoride?
To all candidates,
Yes, please.
thank you. Fluoride.
You probably already know my answer. In an independent Alberta, all big decisions will be made by the people, by the people will decide. And I will advocate for no fluoride. I am personally against it. So, thank you.
I don't know. But I would love to hear more, and I would bring it forward after a discussion.
Thank you.
The Alberta Party has put forward a platform to look at mandatory fluoride for the community. So I think that you're talking about the Alberta Party. I can tell you that this has been something of a discussion amongst many of the communities. So this is something that, as an Alberta Party member, that if West Yellowhead felt very adamant that this is not something they want, then I have the ability to vote against it. And I believe, I'm not too sure about all the communities, but I know at least a couple of us still fluorinate? There you go.
I'm not aware that our party has a position on that right now, but I would love if you would forward me some information afterwards so I can become more versed in it, and then I can represent that as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I grew up on a farm. We had well water. The water was very high in fluoride. I grew up with it. My parents drank the water all the time. My teeth are still discolored from it. I can tell you that I suffer no neurological issues, unless you count running for an MLA. Nobody in my family has them, so I don't know. I do also know that the city of Calgary stopped fluorinating a number of years ago, and my friends who are dentists there, and I have several of them, noticed immediately an increase in cavities. I'm well into my 50s right now, although I don't look it, I know. Thank you. And I do not have a single cavity in my mouth. I do know from my personal experience, I believe fluoride is good, and I would support it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call a 10-minute break. There's washrooms, there's coffee and water at the back of the room. Please give the candidates their own 10 minutes. If you let them relax too, they need a break. Thank you. We'll be back in 10 minutes, so that's 8:05.
on. It is on.
test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test.
Test. Test, test. Test, test, test. Test.
Tell me what you had for lunch.
I can't hear anything.
Just talk.
Okay, do you hear this? We'll get going in 3 minutes. But what if we just move it like into the middle of the room? Yeah. Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt. Okay, if we could all take our seats, we'll continue with the question portion of our candidates forum.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Now this one doesn't work.
Everybody to their seats, please. I use my mama voice.
Can everybody please take their seats?
What? She's sick. So I gave her the keys. She's going to sit in the car until we're done. But I'm just going to have to bolt as soon as we're done. What's that? Bye. No, you can go. Oh, okay.
Okay, can we have everybody take their seats, please?
These questions are very...
Okay, just a reminder,
Oh, I'm not cold.
keep your questions short
Questions.
and to the point. We're having a bit of difficulty with the acoustics in here. When you say so far I've been able to hear all the questions, I may end up trying to paraphrase them through this mic so everybody else can hear the question. Okay?
This is a question for Martin, please, and it's not a question, and I would like you to clarify what I'm going to say. You referenced in your opening remarks the justice system, and I am paraphrasing now. I believe you said that you would restore, or your party would restore justice to the court system. Have I got that correct? Something along those lines. I'd just like you to elaborate on that, please.
Okay, thank you.
We know that far too often people who commit crimes are walking away right now because of the lineups that are happening in our courts. And so part of our focus on the crime itself is appointing more prosecutors, and we want to appeal to the federal government as well to appoint Queen's Court justices in Grand Prairie to help us alleviate the wait times in our court system, so actually when people commit crimes they're held accountable for those.
Thank you. I've got a question here. What is your party doing to help position Alberta for the inevitable future of electric vehicles? And that's to all candidates.
Oh.
Electric vehicle. Who would like to start? Christy.
Okay, so not specifically about electric vehicles, but something that I think that speaks to the creativity and innovation of the Alberta Party is that about a week and a half ago we put out a platform idea where we are going to build an additional lane on the QE2 that is specifically for autonomous vehicles. This is the future. I don't know whether I'm up for it, but it's supposed to be the future. And what it will look, it just speaks to the amount of innovation that we're looking at, as well as providing an opportunity to bring some industries to our province.
I know we don't have a policy specifically about electric vehicles. However, I know our policy is to reopen our power plants due to the fact we have the cleanest operating coal-fired power plants in the entire world. What you see coming out of those horrible stacks is 90% steam. All carbon is recaptured in the stacks. So as for that, I would rather see Albertans working in our plants than buying coal-fired electricity from the States, as we are doing now with ours shut down. Thank you.
Paula.
Thank you for that question. I don't know the answers for specifically to do with specific to your question, but I do know that our government cares about the environment, and we are making changes, diversifying the economy and adding new energy sources and looking into more energy, environmentally safe energy sources. And I would be happy to bring that forward if elected and get more information for you.
Thank you, Paula. Martin or Paul?
We have nothing today specific to electric vehicles. Obviously, for us in rural Alberta, it will present some specific challenges. We have a lot further distances to travel, and we'll have to make sure that the technology that is created for our vehicles in our areas is going to make sure get us from place to place. It will inevitably be part of our innovation and technology platform going forward, though.
I absolutely love that question. What are we going to do for electric vehicles? I already mentioned that we're going to be putting microgen plants on our orphan wells, so that's going to be contributing significantly more electricity into our grid. I also noticed that Petro-Canada has been opening up or putting charging stations at a whole bunch of their gas stations around the province, and that's the type of innovation that is going to lead this province into the next generation, in the next decade, and so on. And I absolutely believe that we as a government should be finding ways to support that one way or another through deregulation, through taxation, etc. But I love the idea, and I think we should continue working towards that for our future.
Thank you. I have a question written here for Mr. Long. Can you please explain why your party has a platform to reduce bank overtime from 1.5% to regular pay? Overtime is overtime, and workers deserve to be paid appropriately when they work it. And that's to Mr. Long.
I work in a manufacturing facility that back in 2018, when it was mandated that banked time be paid out at time and a half, my employer, like many others across the province, got rid of that. They made employees start to be paid out for their overtime. They wouldn't allow them to bank it. We absolutely will not be turning back the clock on overtime rates, as some have been led to believe. The banked overtime, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but that's an agreement that an employer and an employee make where an employee will approach an employer and say, hey, if I work a couple extra hours today and all through the week, can I have Friday off and still get paid for it, rather than actually get paid overtime each particular day. As I say, I've talked to many employers since then, including my own, and it's a lot of extra paperwork and hassle for the employers. So when they were mandated to pay it at time and a half, they just get rid of it. So yeah, overtime hours still get paid at time and a half. My employer pays me double time, thankfully. That's strictly about the banked hours.
Thank you. I have a question. Well, I have a question here. I'm going to combine two of them into one. Statistics Canada estimate that in 2016 there were 790 first-generation immigrants in Jasper. And basically, what is English is their in our schools, and English is not their first language. How do you see your party properly funding the growing population of English language learners? Buddy, and second to that, sorry, I want to combine this. And how are you going to work with local school boards to ensure students with special needs get the appropriate funding they require? So one is on English learning, and one is on students with special needs.
In 60 seconds?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
In an independent Alberta, all schools, public and private, will be 100% funded as long as they meet our common sense oath of rights and freedoms. So it'll be 100% funded with an independent Alberta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not ready?
I am ready.
You are? Okay.
I had the experience of actually, my daughter was in a classroom where a Mexican family came to Canada, and do you know how the teachers spoke to the students? Through their iPad. There is a specialty in education for English as a second language. The problem is that we don't have enough teachers who are coming out to rural Alberta that has that specialty. So it's something that we need to look at and we need to spend some time addressing. The second part of the question about special needs is something that I've had the pleasure of working with throughout my career, and the Alberta Party is looking at ways in which we are screening kids at an earlier age, so once they get into school, we have a better idea of what their issues are, we've addressed them, and we can start working with them. Too often, we have kids that are going into grade 2, 3, 4 before we've even addressed what their specific needs are. We have to be more proactive.
Thank you. Anybody else ready? Paul?
Whoever is ready. My stepson, Aaron, is a teacher. He has 41 students in his class, of which 2/3 of them